meeting back to order. I don't believe. I guess it don't. Item C, discussion and possible action. Request to waive utility deposits of $175 by the City Church Reading, local name A Church of His Presence, to be located at the Old Methodist Church at 4303 Oak Street, Dunsmuir, California. Ms. Brenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Pastor Sharon Jackson is requesting a waiver of the deposit on utility account for water, sewer, and solid waste. She's asking for it to be waived for the church. It is our policy at City Hall to expect each resident to pay their deposit before utilities are turned on.
Okay.
So we do expect that from every citizen here. The church is asking for a waiver of the deposit.
I'll open this up to public comment. Do I have a representative from the church here? No, I do not. All right, I close the podium to public comment. Yes, sir, Mr. Arth.
Mr. Mayor, particularly Mr. Mayor, but Mr. Mayor and council members, this was supposed to be the year of water. This was supposed to be the year that we got rid of unlawful rate structures on the water utility, structures that punish the poorest and the smallest user and benefit the largest and the most wasteful user. We're now into June by my reckoning. We have not had one single meeting of the infrastructure committee. So as an earlier speaker said, wouldn't it be nice to involve citizens in some of these issues? I have been shut out of any participation, notwithstanding your appointment of me to the infrastructure committee. You have no policy other than, gee, everybody's expected to pay. So to grant one single church or one single business or one single residence a waiver, the first question is on the basis of what? And if one person can get a waiver, why can't I get a waiver? So the longer you kick the can down the road, it disadvantages business, it disadvantages residents, and you've not stood up to your word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know, Mayor?
I'm Chris Rainey. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Arth. Mr. Arth had his opportunity to repair what he feels is an illegal rate. I disagree with that as well. You do have to keep in mind that your council, Ed's council, my council, Arliss's council, Arth's council, were all held in very contentious circumstances. And I also agree with Mr. Arth, if you're not going to waive water deposits, if you're not going to waive connection fees, then your policy should be to do that across the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mario Rubino, I was on Mr. R's council, and at that time with the issues we were faced with the rate hikes, a committee was formed. Again, one of the things I fault this council for is trying to make decisions from above. It's much better to get community involvement, get a broader group looking at the issues, make sure that you have experts making the issues, and then having them inform through the subcommittee process, council, and letting them know as things go on what the consensus is from that group. That would help then support this council group in decision making. And so I would like to start seeing this council creating subcommittees, getting experts and local people involved in decision making before it comes to council, instead of these decisions coming down from the Supremes.
Alan Harvey, 4403 Oak Street. The policy of the city is that everybody pays the connection fees. Because that's to ensure that there's capital in order to restore and repair, as well as to develop new and expanded facilities. What is called for here is an exception to policy. So if you want to abide by policy, you will deny the request of the church. And I would recommend that's exactly what you do. Deny the request of the church. It's popular. It's very popular and very nice to be able to go ahead and dispense these kinds of gifts. But that's what they are. And we ought to, and my recommendation is, deny the request.
Thank you. All right, at this time I close the podium and I'll open it up to discussion amongst ourselves. I will like to reiterate the fact that if it's policy, we can't do it for one if we can't do it for everybody. And I realize, I appreciate the fact that they're a church. Maybe they could, it's $175, pass the hat again. But I don't feel that the city should do this. That's my opinion. Councilors, Ed?
Well, yeah, the thing is, you start doing this, where do you draw the line? Okay, well, it's church. How about nonprofits? How about, well, guy down the road doesn't have much money. Where do you draw the line? And I don't see a clear place to do that.
Scott?
Churches do good works in the community. They distribute money for needy people. I welcome the church. I'm happy that it's coming about. I don't believe this violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. And I think, as you said, if you do it for one, you do it for all. I don't think we're excluding any other religion. And I do see it, we're on the warrant run where we did give money to, I believe, substantially more than this amount for the lunch program, which was to a religious organization. And considering that the city charges money of its citizens at times without even their knowledge or consent, I think it would be reasonable under these circumstances to waive the deposit and to invite any other religious organization to do the same. Make their application.
No comment.
No comment? All right. Well, because Scott doesn't agree, I call the vote.
I move that we deny this request.
I'll second that. I'll call the vote. All those in favor of denying the church this waiver, say aye.
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 Think about this.
And you vote was nay?
Yeah, they've cleaned it up around there too.
We got 15 more items too.
Yeah. Be here all night.
I got mixed feelings on it.
We have to do it for one, we have to do it for all.
I would like to say that the money that is given to the money that is given to the Baptist Church, it's $500, and it's for the children's lunch program. That is a summer program. These children are normally fed at school, and during the summer they go without food. And the city of Dunsmuir has been gracious enough to participate $500 a year. That is not a waiver of a deposit. That is not guaranteeing that their utility bill will be paid. That is a gesture to the hungry.
Has other churches been relieved of the deposits?
It is not our policy to waive deposits at City Hall. And there are people every day that struggle to pay their deposit. And we have set up payment plans You can pay half of it this week and half of it next week, but we don't waive the deposit.
It's 2-1. We're saying denial, 2 denial, 1 yes, waive the. So he votes yes, so there's 3. I apologize to the church, but it is policy. Moving on.
They could call it lunch and come back.
D, discussion of possible action, resolution 2014-16, considering city council members edit staff reports on items placed on agenda. Ms. Brenda.
Mr. Mayor, during the special meeting of Friday, March 21st, instruction was given to the city manager by council member Leslie Wild to forward all of my council members to each council member that had added items to the agenda for purposes of editing. This direction was not on the agenda because it was a performance review.
Remember.
Right, but the direction was given to me in the performance review, and that is not action that I will take. I will not take direction from the city council unless they're seated at a meeting and the item is on the agenda. I do not advise the council to allow council members to edit my staff reports, as they will no longer be my staff reports. They will be a memo from the council member. And I think that that is a conflict.
I would have to personally agree. Okay, at this time I'll open this one up for public comment.
Dick Kelby, North Dunsmuir Avenue. This item should never have been put on the agenda. In the first place, and solely for the purpose of the council, any staff report is a totally unbiased, professional presentation of the materials necessary for the council to make a logical decision. Any other than an unbiased, professional presentation would be totally against the normal processes of the council. I would highly recommend this just be immediately just taken off the agenda. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, at this time I close the podium and I open this up to the councilors. I remember that day, and I feel that this went down this way just as a way of surpassing and ending that closed session. Councilmember, we should not be able to edit her reports. We just made them unbiased, and we rely on her reports. When she gives us reports, they're down, and we're allowed and invited to help her and assist her make those reports with any information that we have. Kind of have to agree with Mr. Kelby on this, that this should go away.
Yeah, it's senseless because whether we agree with them or not, we need to know what they are. They're reports.
So I'm entertaining the motion that we just disregard this.
I thought this meant that, like if you want something on the agenda, you put something on and say, can I put on, and it comes out different halves. You put it, you could edit and say, I didn't hear that.
No, Tim, the quote was by another counselor that I want you to say what I want it to say. And that's not what we're...
Your personal agenda or your memos or what your staff reports.
Yes, it's not necessarily the item on the agenda, but it is my backup. My research that I put down on paper in the form of a council memo that goes along with that item. If it is not a certain person's view, she wants it changed.
That's where this derived from. So, I make a motion, I'm entertaining the motion to dismiss this. What's the word for go away? Dismiss? Remove. Okay, I'm entertaining a motion to remove this item from the agenda.
I second that
No,
motion.
see, I make a motion.
I so move.
I'm looking for a second.
I'll second the motion.
I call the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This one goes away. Hey, we all just agreed on something. That was fun. Actually, that was fun. That was, man, really. Moving on. Lost my place. Okay, E. Discussion of possible action, set meeting date for council goal setting and budget priorities. Ms. Brenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this item was added by Vice Mayor Welch. He wanted to add this item for your consideration, and it is important for the council to set a meeting date for goal setting and budget priorities. And at the time this item went on the agenda, way back when, I had made a recommendation that we wait until the official certification of the June 3rd, 2014 recall election to schedule that workshop. I do believe that we should wait until the day of the certification, if we have a special meeting, or the meeting of May 19th. But we are way up against the deadline for getting the budget done. There should be a series of workshops and not just one. So I would recommend that we table this item until the swearing in of Councilmember Kelby.
I'll open this up to public comment. No public comment? Yes, ma'am.
The sessions that you guys call closed sessions, they don't discuss the budget and the goal setting at those meetings? Thank you.
Okay, I close the podium at this time, and I'll open this up to councilors. Scott, this was your baby. Is this what Mount Shasta does that Mr. Burns was talking about?
No, this is what was in the manual that I got from the League of Cities. Talked about setting a mission statement, budget, priorities, and goals. And that the city manager helps us establish those, and that we could possibly do it at a retreat. Said that.
I would be entertaining a motion to table this once we have the new council members on. But I agree, and we should put emphasis on this because this is just going to help us. It's going to do our job better.
You know where we're headed.
And know where we're headed. We've got goals. We can see light at the end of the tunnel. It's something to achieve, right? So,
And I think your retreat is a really good idea because you guys need to get out of here and get to know each other. And I'll be there to supervise to make sure you don't violate the Brown Act.
Okay. Wait a second. Say I second the motion, Tim.
Well, can it be,
Just say I second the motion, Tim.
can it just be passed and then scheduled for another day?
What?
This is the scheduling.
Yeah, we want to schedule when we have the new council to work on it.
All right,
All right?
all right.
All right, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. F, discussion of possible actions. Considering a city support of community gardens on Cedar Street. Ms. Brenda.
Mr. Mayor, this item came up on April 9th and it went to the Dunsmuir Planning Commission. That night, the majority of us were at Lola, so we did not participate in that Planning Commission meeting. I would like to set the record straight. At the last meeting that moved from the council chambers to the community center, Mr. Peter Arth said that when this idea was pitched, that Brenda was on board and ready to give unlimited water, use of city staff, use of city vehicles, and everything. And I just want to set the record straight that I give nothing. And the city council is the only body that can give these items to anyone. I wanted to also point out that there were several items on my memo: unlimited city water, to allow a key to historic city hall for this bathroom, lot cleanup by city staff, the use of a backhoe, and to scrape away soil where snow was dumped, purchase soil from Souza Landscaping, use of a dump truck and staff to deliver soil, reduce the size of plumbing on water meter in order to better accommodate the use of drip systems, and to provide liability insurance. I wanted to point out that Councilmember Wild did a very detailed resolution giving it all away. And when it hit this packet, the manager of the community garden, Rami, who's right there, said, "Oh my gosh, the city's going to think we want everything. I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this." So obviously, the needs of the community garden are fewer than the resolution states. I do not recommend using the resolution. I also put an item in the packet, what qualifies as a gift of public funds. And the reason I put that in the packet is that I have had several people come to my office and tell me that they're putting a garden in, a community garden. They're going to let all their neighbors grow on their front lawn, and they would like free water. I'm totally serious. It's what's good for one is good for the other, and I just wanted to make the city council aware that any use of the public's equipment or the public staff is a gift of public funds.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda. At this time, I'll open the podium up to public comment.
Okay, Romy White, 5508A Dunsmuir Avenue. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. I'm speaking tonight as the garden coordinator for Dunsmuir Community Garden, which is going to be in the lot right across the street. Our mission is to grow healthy food and to educate people on how to grow healthy food. And this is basically in response to the rising food prices and the lower quality that we can get in the stores. And it's to basically teach people how to be healthier and more self-sufficient. We started a couple months ago. We've been very successful. We're building beds this week, and we're putting in a fence, and we've started hundreds of vegetable starts. And like she said, most of the resolution items have already been met through volunteers and donations and fundraisers. The community's been very generous. We've been really amazed at how positive the response has been. Most of the lot has been cleared, most of the debris. We're still hauling some stuff away. There was a lot of blackberries in there, so we're still getting rid of that tomorrow morning. And we did get the lot leveled with a backhoe, and we have acquired soil from a couple different sources. So the remaining items, if I'm correct, there's 3 of them. One was use of city equipment, and this was related to the green waste program that we were previously mentioned. And that was more an idea of it being a mutually beneficial partnership with the city, which we can work on in the future. And that would be where we would use the city equipment, would be like bringing in green waste and doing a composting system with that. And then the water, as you guys just discussed, that could be an issue. We were thinking, there was talk about running it off the Belknap Fountain. I'd like to explore that. That would be really great. I don't know about plumbing, how that can happen. I'm not a plumber, so I try to figure out how it works, and I can't, but maybe somebody else can. So maybe that's something we can discuss. And then, of course, we would like free water. Who doesn't? But we'll talk about that. And it would help a lot because this isn't like a for-profit venture. There's not a lot of money coming in to support, we'd like to be sustainable. So we are looking to save money and get supported any way we can. And then the insurance, we'd like to discuss options for city partnership on insurance. We are discussing some possibilities where it might be legally feasible for the city to help us with liability insurance. So that's just something we want to get together and talk about. So maybe at this point it would be appropriate to suggest a creation of a committee. I know there's been a lot of talk about committees tonight, but it might be in our best interest to have a committee including council members, community members, maybe the planning commission, and maybe city staff if they're interested in it, where we can talk about how the community garden can best serve everybody in the community. It's in a great location. It's right across the street from the city and the Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be an awesome example of a demonstration of how to grow food the best way possible. It's going to be beautiful. So it'd be great to open it up to where we can collaborate with the city. And then so making a committee might be the best way to do that. And finally, I'd like to invite all the community to get involved. We meet Saturdays, it's a little commercial. We meet Saturdays at 10. We just changed it from Sundays at 3 because it's getting really warm. So Saturdays at 10, just at the lot across the street. Everyone's invited. Everybody has something to contribute. Some people are laborers and some people just have ideas. So it's all ages. Kids can come as long as the parents are there to watch them. So we're just really hoping that this garden can bring people together and be positive, a positive contribution. The bathroom, the Dunsmuir Community Resource Center did offer that we can use their bathroom during their open hours. So we do have that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to point out that the city is unable to provide liability insurance on property that is not owned by the city unless there is a lease in place.
Right.
And I'm not sure if the city council wants to lease that property.
Okay, thank you.
That was actually perfect timing because that's what I was going to bring up, the question of whether or not this might be leased to the city, which would probably take care of all of the grants and gifts in kind, etc., if there was some relationship. I also have to bring up, I'm sure other people are thinking it, we can't help think otherwise considering the past history, but there should be some, I think, clarification or some statement saying that this will not be turned into a marijuana garden in the future. I think
grandfather clause.
Pardon me?
Like a grandfather clause.
So all I'm saying is fundamentally that you may want to look at the idea. I totally support the idea of the community gardening. I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. But looking at it from a legal standpoint, I thought a lease might be a way to deal with that.
Thank you.
This is for Scott and Tim Padula. The garden, I've worked on it a couple of minutes maybe, off and on, because I've been busy with my sister and Chamber of Commerce. But I really would like for you guys to consider having a garden. She's been a hard worker. She's really worked hard. I see her down there every single day. And it's going to get kids included, and they're at the Baptist, they're going to teach us how to grow stuff and get involved. So if there's any way possible that we could come together and find some kind of resolve on this issue, it'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alan Harvey, 4403 Oak Street. I would think that the suggestion, the community garden concept is a wonderful idea, and the purposes are outstanding, serving a great community interest. And the suggestion relative to a lease and other details associated with it can, I think, be taken up by broadening the involvement of the community in the community garden. One way to do that, rather than just make an open call for committee members or something of that sort, would be for each member of the city council to appoint a person that they would recommend that they would feel has a community garden focus and would be helpful in dealing with the issues and problems associated with creating the community garden. That would be a quick way to go ahead and do it, opposed to waiting for applications to come in, the selection process, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I would recommend to you that you consider creation of a committee by somebody making a motion that a committee be created, but with each member of the city council appointing a person that they believe would have a community garden objective and focus and be beneficial and part of the solution.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor. I just want to say that I really love the community garden idea. She's my next door neighbor, and she's done a wonderful job clearing that, and amazing amount of job getting the materials and everything brought in. The city council has to answer two questions, though. The first question is, I got a garden. If I have my neighbors come by, can I have some free water too? And that's a tough one. I mean, why is it that one place can and one can't? And you're going to be making a decision where you're going to have to define it. There are good solutions to all these issues, but you're going to have to come up with the reason. Now, I honestly believe we can come out of the back of the Belknap fountain with something temporary, but you still got to answer why I can't have one in my backyard with free water. And that's something that you guys need to be able to find. I would recommend conceiving a non-for-profit status, making them so that there's at least some way that you can balance it. And I would also recommend that it has to be in a general area that the city has access to city water. That way you're not going to be looking at, it's fair for him, why isn't it fair for me? So, and there are access points in the community for that. So I would just hope that you guys go through, think this thing through, and make sure it's going to be fair for everybody. As far as the trucks, the equipment, all this stuff, this is a city that's been built on its civic pride. And quite frankly, it's nice that the town would want to help, but we build buildings, we build gardens, we do it out of our pocketbooks and our community spirit, and that's the best thing for Dunsmuir. But when you're looking at my dollars and cents to pay into my taxes and my water and utility bills, you know what? I don't want you to. I want you to run it as efficiently as you can. And I expect you guys to manage my money well. And when it's all said and done, if the idea is good, people will support it. And Rooney will tell you, people are supporting her idea. It's a good idea. Let the people support it.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say one more thing. I thought of the Belknap fountain idea because people can go to the Belknap fountain any day and get all the water they want. We have water faucets throughout the city that run nonstop, 24/7, 365 days a year. I also thought the Belknap fountain was a good idea to somehow tap into it because this would be managed by the city. It's not a private water connection on a lot. This is a connection the city would put in. So what I'm really looking for tonight is direction from the council. The direction will be to investigate Belknap fountain or to come back to you with a resolution on the 19th for a water connection of a private land connection. Also, I'm asking for direction tonight on if you would like me to work with the city attorney to come up with a lease for that property. And I think the argument to, well, I want to have a community garden, I want free water. The community garden is just that. It's for the community. If that person wants a community garden in their front yard, use this community garden. I think that should be the answer. The community garden is for the community and it's not for individuals.
it's for the community.
Mr. Mayor, there's another point I'd like to agree with what Brenda just said for another reason, and that is that the city, you may recall from our meeting at the community center building, where I reported to the council on the metering requirements the city's facing, deadlines coming up. So part of the wisdom of what Ms. Baines has mentioned is that if there's an outlet there that people can use, then there isn't a metering problem that has to be complied with. So I like her idea.
Mr. Ward. Brenda, you do have the best ideas. I mean, the water that's just otherwise going down the drain, if it can be used in a drip system to water, that's a brilliant idea. Oh my gosh, and again, going back to, I just love to see the city become more green. And community gardens, I've written a book on it, so I'm pretty knowledgeable about it. They benefit the community in so many ways. Where community gardens have been, children in schools, the children their grades have improved, attendance have improved, discipline problems have gone down. It's made a tremendous difference with young people. I know I talked to Brenda once about maybe the possibility of taking the property behind the theater, and could that be a community garden? Brenda looked at me and she said, it's got to benefit the community if it's in fact a community garden. Perhaps if it was something, because your ideas are brilliant, perhaps if it was something where high school kids could be working in this community garden, and the proceeds, if there was any profits to be made from it, it went directly back into the high school to benefit the high school. Something like that could possibly work. And I think it's a really good idea. Something like this could work because it's when young people get involved, many children don't even know where vegetables come from. If they can grow it, and so many statistics have been out there that when children grow vegetables, children eat vegetables, and fruit and vegetables are the healthiest thing you could possibly be eating. Thanks. Thank you.
Chris Rainey, again. I'm one of Rami's supporters as well. I gave her a cash donation this year, happy to do it on an annual basis. I have two issues with what's before you right now. Firstly, I would ask that you reject this resolution as I have read it. There is one whereas in there where it seems to me, as a jailhouse lawyer that I am, that the city is assuming liability for potentially contaminated soil. There's some sort of an admission in there. So I wish that you would look at that, and based on that whereas alone, reject this specific resolution, because I don't even think two of you even know where it came from.
I didn't include it.
Secondly, Brenda mentioned that perhaps you want to give Mr. Hicks direction to do something for us. I don't want you guys to give Mr. Hicks any more directions. As a taxpayer, it appears that we've spent $20,000 for something in the last 2 months. Don't give him any more directions to do anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Wilson, I already told you where I live. So a lot of places they charge people per plot in a garden. Like they set up a box and you pay $10 for that box. Would anybody be allowed to just walk into the garden and pick anything they wanted at any time? Or is there security going to be around a fence where people can't get in? Or will hobos just be allowed to come have dinner every night? Or is there a plan to keep the garden safe? And I don't know, just little questions that I think maybe a committee should be considered to answer these little questions before you guys make a decision on where to go.
Good point, Brian. Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, I close the podium at this time, and I'll open this up to councilors. Should we form a committee, see if we can make this work? Honestly, you look at this thing, I went through this thing, can we do this? No. Can you do this? There wasn't a doggone thing that was a yes, and it was all gifting of public funds. There's nothing on there that we can do. Nothing. So is there, it is a community garden. It would be beneficial for us to work on finding a way to make it work. It is a phenomenal idea about the fountain, and it's booyah.
Is the fountain, is one side of it running all the time?
Yes, there's something there running all the time.
So the drain is, that's free water.
It pops right out the side.
Right.
It just pops out and runs down
So
the street.
ideas like that,
Put a hose on it.
can work. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, and council members, I don't want to belabor the obvious, but the gift of public funds, you have to finish the sentence. Gift of public funds to whom? The funds are not going to me. They are going to the community garden. I would enter a nominal lease with the city.
That's the word we're looking for, is lease.
Insurance. If you ask any competent attorney whether what's on that list is a gift of public funds, the answer would be no, it is not. You have to use a competent attorney when you're making your decisions. Thank you.
If the property that we were giving our money to, and it was making this property better, would that be a gain to the owner, a financial gain to the owner of that property because of public funds?
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to make somebody's yard nicer with my money, Dave.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor, if the city did enter into a lease with the property owner on the community garden, and it was basically to provide the liability insurance, the council could consider that this is the city's community garden, and this property is being leased so that the city can provide a community garden to its citizens.
Yes.
Something that was mentioned tonight that just scares the heck out of me. Oh, I've been good tonight. I've caught myself like 3 times. So, something was mentioned about insurance and contaminated soil.
The contaminated soil has been thrown around because the property owner at that property has received free water, sewer, and garbage fees every month for the last 4 years that I've worked here.
6 years. It's 6 years, 72 months.
Oh, okay, well, I've worked here 4 years, and that was, I'm sorry, I'm talking, thank you.
But it's not correct.
Okay, well, I can actually bring the exact figures to the council. This is a recurring journal entry that is done every month on the general ledger to the city, and the city is paying those charges on behalf of the property owner in lieu of snow storage fees. The snow is stored there in the winter, and the contaminated soil is supposedly from the snow that is taken off the street and put on that lot. But the way that I look at it is, if I had a piece of property and I was going to say, hey, you can store the snow here and pay me rent, I'm responsible for what goes into the soil.
With all due respect, the city managers, several city managers ago, good old Keith, he said it would be very convenient. This was immediately after I was elected to public office. He came and said, boy, I've got a deal for you. Let the city store its snow on your lots, and you won't have to pay any water or sewer fees. And I thought, well, that makes sense, because all I've got is a hole in the ground. The Mossbury Apartments burned there. Why? The sewer's not hooked up. The water connections aren't hooked up. So if the city wants to dump its snow, if you listen to Rami, if you look at the package that's in your agenda, we have soil testing as part of getting the gardens ready. We're obviously not going to poison our kids or any members of the community by growing plants in polluted soil. But yes, the city dumped a lot of salted snow on the property. I would say it's the city's liability, not mine, as part of the deal. But couldn't we for once move forward and actually do something? You tell me.
We don't use salt.
Sandy Rainey, 403 Mason Avenue. I'm a citizen of this town, and I work together. I too have a lot on my home that I allow the city to store snow on in the wintertime. I find it convenient that we don't have to have it piled up so people can't drive up and down our street. However, I would never go on record asking for free water and then threatening to sue the city so I could get some financial gain out of it. And I implore you, Mr. Arth, I am just appalled that you would even stand here in front of this community and expect us to fix something that you had monetary gain for how many years? Six? Excuse me.
Arlen Steele, 5951 Dunsmuir Avenue. I wasn't going to say anything on this, but when they started talking about contaminated soil, I can tell you when the contaminated soil happens when Barnett's burned years ago.
I can't hear you.
The building sunk right into the ground with all the water that the fire department put on it. So the contamination from the snow with the water, a little bit of gas and oil evaporates in time, but the contaminated soil is caused because of the building burning. And anybody knows that if you tear down a building that's been there for 80 or 90 years, you can't grow a damn thing on that soil because it hasn't had any water or nutrients put on it for 80 or 90 years. So this is a bunch of bunk.
What sadly is a bunch of bunk is the total lack of knowledge and knowledge base on the issue. The issues with snow being put on the property is not salt. We don't salt. Mr. LaRue will tell you we don't salt. The issue is, as far as us taking the snow and dumping it in the river, we were told no, because it could and does sometimes have some oil and gas from the streets. That's the poison. And that has nothing to do with putting the snow on his property. Now, putting the snow on his property, all that oil and gas, if it exists, ends up there. But anyone, and I recommend you get some serious people that know and get some fact base in here. Oil and gas by sunlight and air is eaten up or dispersed, okay? Now, if you have a tank underground and you have a spill or it leaks because it rusts, what they do is they literally pump air into the ground to aerate it to get rid of that poison. So if we're talking about the volatiles, this is basically, what do you call stupid information by gossipy people? Folklore. It's folklore that his soil is poisoned. And quite frankly, it's up to the owner to do the testing and say, yeah, it's poisoned. So we got to work this out with the city. And quite frankly, there is nothing worse you could say than, I have a community garden, but my soil is contaminated. It's like, please, the city of Dunsmuir, do not allow the garden if that soil is contaminated. They should go somewhere else, find a better piece of property. I mean, let's just cut all the crap, get down to base knowledge. Someone should find out if the soil is contaminated. It's going to be pretty easy to find out that there is no way the soil is contaminated from snow and ice. That's just some basic information you can get from engineers. And let's get through this. But to sit here and hear this folkloric knowledge go over whether or not the soil is contaminated, nobody knows that it is. And by what? Hell, it could be mercury from the lamps, you know?
Yeah. I just wanted to clear up some things. There is a packet in here that they have that has our mission statement and our schedule for the week and information. I never said anything about contaminated soil. I think that was put in by someone else. We are planting all on raised beds just because I mean, if you go out there and walk around, it's like concrete. And it's better a lot of times to grow in raised beds anyway, so we'll be bringing in organic soil just to clear that up, and then we'll be laying wood chips down in all the pathways, and the only things that we're actually planting in the ground are flowers, which will be all around the perimeter where it isn't like concrete. Sorry. And everything else that is edible will be planted in organic soil and raised beds. So the root, and it will be 18 inches high, so the roots will never go down into that soil. I just want to clear that up because that was a consideration. The other thing is to clear up there is a list of rules that the people need to sign that say they will not grow any illegal plants. They are not allowed to drink in there. They're not allowed to smoke cigarettes. They're not allowed to harass people. There will be a fence. There will be security. We will probably put security cameras up. It's going to be a membership thing where people are members and they work. We're not going to do it where it's individual plots just because it's a limited space, and I don't think we'll be able to produce that much food with everybody having a plot. We're not going to get that many plots in there. So we're going to do intensive growing, which is biointensive methods where you grow for production, for food production. So for that reason, people will be working a certain amount of hours, logging it into a book, and they get that much credit towards produce. So it's just all communal, I guess. I think that's all I wanted to say for that. But there have been considerations on all these points. I just want to clear up because a couple things that sound like misunderstandings. And if you want a packet of that with the mission statement and the vision and the let me know and I can print that up for you. And it has a plan for the beds, and it has everything in there, the rules that the people have to sign. And it does have a hold harmless agreement where people say they can't sue the property owner. But that we would like more. We would like more city backing than that. But that's something we just have to talk about. I mean, we'll just have to work on that. But anyway, I think that's all that. Hopefully I'm not forgetting something.
Bunny Steele, 5951 Dunsmuir Avenue. I think if Mr. Arth wants to be gracious to our town, wants to alleviate all these problems that have been brought up tonight, why doesn't he just donate or let the people of Dunsmuir use the old window box nursery? It's already fenced in, it already has a gate, he has all kinds of video, when he's taping it all hours of the night. It has a building there with a bathroom in it, and there's running water. I haven't heard anybody bring that up. I haven't heard him mention it. Like I said, it would alleviate all these problems that we're talking about tonight.
Steve Cuddy, 4312 Oak Street. A thought occurred to me. There could be an angry person that would want to get even with people that person disagrees with, that might have somebody they disagree with a garden plot or 2 or 3. What's to keep them from pouring something down the drain, putting something bad into the garden that isn't recognizable right away that could harm people who eat the food? Nothing. So the idea of using the water from the drain from the bin lap fountain for safety reasons instead of out of a tap, I think there's a flaw. Good point. Good point.
I agree. And those drains, you never know what people say.
I just wanted to comment on that. The window box nursery, we have been using that. CRF donated that to start all our vegetable starts. And we started, I would say, a couple hundred vegetable starts that we're going to be planting in there. So we have been using that space. But it wouldn't be a good community garden space because there's no, it's basically a greenhouse. There's a small it's basically a greenhouse. There's no outdoor lot to grow in. But we have been starting all our vegetable starts in that, and it gave us a good head start. But thank you.
Anybody else?
Linda Nace at 5607 Sacramento Avenue. And didn't you guys just pass a thing stating that you wouldn't even give water for the Catholic churches? This, I believe, is property of the private party, isn't it?
That's what we were saying.
I just wanted to check. I don't think it should happen. If you guys don't donate to the churches and things of that nature, why would you donate money to a private citizen?
Okay, at this time I'll close. Okay. Last speaker.
I'm a big gardener, and I have grown, but not so much anymore. But, and I have been involved with community gardens when I lived in the Bay Area, but that was probably like 1968. But there is a way to do this. It's a great idea, and I'm behind it. But we need a nonprofit, plain and simple. You need to find out, and there are community gardens that you can speak with. The best one in California is probably in Brooklyn. They are self-sustaining. The self-sustaining means to be financially solvent. And you will get a lot of, if you file for a nonprofit, you will be eligible to file for grants. You will be eligible to have tax breaks. And I believe that if you need help from the city and they're behind you, that maybe you should come to them at a time when you need something and they can consider it. But just a blank, the city is going to support that, is, I believe, is not the right way to go. And I think you can save a lot of money and get some help. And you know, you just need to do a little more research. Mount Shasta does it. I was just talking to a gentleman, and he asking him about some of those things. And I wish he would have came out and spoke to us, but he hasn't. But I think that's the way to go. And I do believe that we need a community garden, not just for the children, but to give maybe some of these people that are something else to do besides use drugs, you know? And a lot of that, a lot of recovery is doing something, you know, doing something. And there's no more joy than to plant a seed in the ground and watch it grow, and to share it with your children, with your family, with your parents, whatever. But and I think the city will get behind you and help you with this. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll close the podium to public comment, and I'll open it up to us councilors.
Okay. I think the only idea that I can think that would work for water is by using Belknap Fountain, where we know that there's not a water meter. We're not putting in any connection. We're not making an improvement to a public or to a private property. We're simply using water that, as we say, runs through and goes to the river. And I don't think anybody was suggesting that we use the drain water, but I think you could use the drain to run a hose to tap into the water from the fountain. And that would be the only way I would consider that the city would provide water. Sorry. That the city would provide water to the community garden.
I mean, this is a community garden, and we've been talking on it for 2 hours about a community garden. Come on. Jeez. Do it. You know, if your soil is contaminated, the whole town is. The whole town. Because this whole town burned down twice since it's been in existence, from one end to the other. So if you grow a cherry tree or anything, is it contaminated? Don't eat the cherries, apples, plums, pears. Don't eat nothing in this town because it's contaminated.
Point of order. He's supposed to be an attorney giving you legal advice, not personal opinions.
He's not, the attorney isn't speaking.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me.
Okay, my suggestion then is that we
sitting in back
to check with the
Back of the bus, buddy. Back
water and sewer or the water department and see what the feasibility is of using water from Belknap Fountain. And I think we're going to put this off till the next meeting to get that information.
Are we all in agreement to that? Yeah.
Looks like we're not going to have no garden this year.
Oh, Mr. R is very capable. I don't think he needs our help. I bet he's sorry he asked us. So that, he'll get his garden on.
So we'll put direction to you, Miss Brenda, see what you can come up with, Bill, that, as far as giving them water from the fountain.
There was just major work done on the back end of that fountain because there was a leak. So Carl should have a very good idea if he should be able to do it in conjunction with Ron. My other concern is the liability insurance and how if the city council would like me to research leasing that property on behalf of the city to provide.
Not if it involves using Mr. Hicks. Next, another way? Is there another way?
How about if I just work on water and then on the 19th we'll talk about that again?
All right. Moving on. Discussion of possible action, presentation of proposed dog park, disc golf, walking trail, and bike park. Got this open to public comment. Is there anybody that...
Jamie, how long is the setup going to be? Are you going to use it for graduation? Mr. Mayor.
Okay, 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
We're going to take a 5-minute break while they set up for this presentation.
Okay. We've been here forever.
I was sitting in back. I gotta go apologize.
Discussion of possible action.
That was great. You were yelling.
I gotta go apologize to the guy.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sitting in back. I can't see faces.
This is a presentation of a proposed outdoor multi-purpose park that would be on a city parcel. The outdoor multi-purpose park has been proposed by a committee of citizens to be located on an 11.6 acre parcel south of Dunsmuir, located just south of Manfredi's, and it was commonly referred to as Hobo Camp. The proposed project will include a dog park, disc golf, senior walking trails, paintball course, skateboard park, or skateboard area, and mountain bike trails. The committee has identified 4 phases, so this is a relatively well thought out plan. The committee has identified the 4 phases to the development with hopes of accomplishing the project in 4 years. Because this is a city-owned parcel, the liability insurance is already secured by the city, and I would like to introduce Jamie Meredith.
Hello, my name is Jamie Meredith. I'm a small business owner and mother in town.
I think we have possibly 2 council members having a private meeting in the back room in the old council chamber.
We put together a petition, and we had several people, including children, sign to see what kind of things they might be interested for activities in this town. And I have that sheet at home. Number 1 that they were interested in was the skate park, and then number 2 we had bike riding. Pretty much everything got checked off is what they were interested in.
All I can see is look like that guy on, those movies that you guys that you can see their head over
phase processes of what we're
chairs.
hoping to achieve. We need the city's approval to use the land, and then we can try to get grants and things to help sponsor these activities.
I'm sorry.
Hey, no problem.
We don't expect to get everything all at once because it's going to take some money. But we would like to start off with the, we need to clear off the area. We would like to form a dog park. That seems to be something that people really would like to have around here. There seems to be a lot of promotion about that. And then also some bike paths. We'd like to do some kind of jumps in there. When we pass around these plans, and it shows the different phases in it.
Who are you?
Did you make your point?
I couldn't see who it was. It looked like the attorney talking. It did.
Do you have any engineers that might help better construct this thing?
It would have been a good point if it was the right guy talking.
Ideas within our community and what they might want. I'm hoping within the first year to have bike paths and
Somebody could have done something in there.
and dog park area.
Now they're. Yes, you want one?
Hoping to get
Are we almost
skate
done?
park in there.
No, we're only about a third of the way down
Racetrack
the bottom,
possibly
at
for
the top.
bikes, trash cans, and
That's
paved
the front.
trails.
This is the back. We're on.
We have some senior citizen
G.
trails in there that we would like to have maybe black topped off, like a little trail to go through. There's a old well down there that looks
Down by
really cool,
Manfredi's.
and
that's the
Lynn had a
presentation.
great idea of making this well kind of like a really nice point and make it look really cute, have some picnic benches around.
I should have brought my recliner.
If you guys haven't walked the property,
You don't have a
I
Caltrans
strongly
thing? Like
recommend it.
sitting
I
around?
walked down there. When he first came to me about the paintball idea, I was
Fold up
kind
inside
of
my vest
uncertain.
and I
Right,
can just
they have
fold it
that
out.
fixed stands on the shovels. Why can't you have some kind of sit
But I
back?
walked
That would
down
be nice,
there,
right?
and the terrain is very steep, and we're
So do all the city councils have this kind of a problem, or just
He
Dunsmuir?
grew up in this town, he knows it very well, and there's an area in
They
there
could make
that's
a good
very
reality show on
concave,
TV, wouldn't
and
it?
it would actually, it would block off a lot
You've
of
got
those
visitors to the town right over here, and Dave's introducing himself to him, saying, "Welcome to Dunsmuir."
Here
we go. This is going on.
Billboard signs are at by Manfredi's that has the name of the businesses. Right underneath that, there's a trail that walks down there. And I strongly recommend the city council to walk down there and walk through the whole thing. And you'll see that there's plenty of land for everything. I just moved here a couple of years ago, and my daughter is 4, and I would love to see some more activities for her.
You do have the National Guard sitting around the corner, right?
Drugs, and I would like them to have something else to do.
Oh, you do have enough?
Yes, I do.
And I noticed that there's also laws against skateboarding in this town. In front of the Park and Rec building, there's signs, I see no skateboarding. You're not allowed to skate park.
I gotta shut this off for now.
And the library, I don't think it needs to be on the street. So the kids really need somewhere to go. But it's up to the city council to make the decision whether you want a skate park or a BMX park or frisbee golf. I'm leaving it up to you guys. I'm just letting you know what the community has told to me and what they kind of initialed that they were interested in. And I turned in the letter to the city, and you can see the different phases. He's got a really nice presentation that shows the terrain of the land, and you can kind of get a good feel for it. So I think it'd be great for our community and for the kids, and I know the people are worried about the schools closing and lack of children being around. But me being a parent, it's something that would bring people to our community. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, a skateboarder guy through town said they're recording a movie that they're filming and they wanted downhill skateboarding. And I mentioned, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get a skate park going. He's like, that would be great. He's like, I would come. And I've had a lot of tourists talk to me about that. And I see a lot of tourists of families that come through, and I talk to them all the time. And I think it would be a great idea for us to have some sort of activities. Even if it's just 2 of them, it's a great piece of land, and the city owns it. And a lot of one of the foundations we talked to says the first step, besides the signatures, is getting approval from the city for the land. So that's where I'm gonna leave it up to you and let Guy Shoot take the stand on his little presentation.
Is the wishing well still down there?
It is. It can use a little beautification, but yeah, you see it.
And just, unless Linda has any further, I think we'll be ready to actually watch this video so it speaks for itself.
This is taking much of this year. Can I ask these folks a couple serious questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't want to break the rules.
Well, this is where we grill them. So, what is your question, John? What is your question?
Well, I thought I heard one of them say something about paths for disabled people being break down. The other question,
How about if you let me hit them up first, and if I miss it, then you, okay? I have I'd like to start this because everybody's taking notes and I just saw it off my head. So I saw 3 things that I have concern with. You guys, you got fencing down the road. Is there going to be a fence between this idea and that railroad track I saw?
Yes, that would be the ultimate plan.
Okay, that's one. The dog park. I never had a dog go to a dog park, you know, so do I take my dog? Am I in a caged area? Am I with other dogs? And is my dog on leashes?
I believe that the way they run those dog parks, once they're in the container, they're free, but the owners have to be close by. So,
Are there rules going to be in effect? If your dog eats my dog, you can never not come here again in life?
Those are part of the rules. If you knowingly, one of the state animal control laws is state, if you knowingly have a vicious dog and you go to a park, yeah, then there are definitely those rules. One of the things, this park here is designed mostly for the traveler to bring them in to see. It's not designed for the one for the community of Dunsmuir. This one is set up differently through the ASPCA because we have other areas to protect. We have bears down there and things that the travelers don't see. So this is set up a little bit differently, but it will be definitely, there'll be 3 pins set up where you'll have a small, the larger, and then if you want to let your dog off because you have been traveling and getting ready to ride your bike through the mountain trails with your dog, you want to let him get rid of some of that piss and vinegar.
So would that be our own set of regulations through the city's approval? I would say that would be something that would open for everybody else to decide.
My third.
One statement I'd like to say. I had a dog park in Chico, and what they have is a large rectangled area with 2 entrances. You walk into the first part of this cage entrance that as somebody is leaving, there's another cage part. While they're preparing to put their dog on a leash, you're waiting in this other caged area, and then they come out, and then you go in. It's a good way to train dogs. Some dogs will take off. You know, you've got some people have their well-trained dogs, you know. But it's a good, and if you know your dog's aggressive, they have to be on a leash. That's one of the requirements they had. They have all the rules posted, and you have to be attentive to your dog. If your dog runs up to another dog, you automatically go and retrieve your dog. But most of the time, they're just kind of playing around. But those are the dog parks experiences that I've had.
Okay. Have you guys talked to other cities with dog parks? Just curious.
One of the things, I've been working on this since December. I have been to every dog park, skate park, BMX park, paintball course that you can find along lines. In the parks that I have traveled in many times, many ways, and throughout other states. This one here, like I said, is mostly set up because we do have outdoor things to deal with.
That leads me to my third final concern. By the way, I commend you guys. This is great. Somehow we'll make this work. But these are issues that, off me, I have safety concerns. I live by that. So, here I have a senior trail, and I have a bike path. That ain't gonna work. So, is this certain times as a senior trail, or is it certain times in a bike path? Because I'm gonna tell you, somebody bumped my grandma off.
I believe if you walk the trail and you see there is enough room to do both, and probably even fence areas off that you want to avoid that problem.
And the motocross track is challenged separate. This isn't motocross.
Yeah, you will not. That's going to be BMX. It won't be actual motocross bikes. So
I just was making sure that grandma's not BMX when she walks.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
You know that well is that we showed you there?
Yeah.
When you're standing at that well, and that's what David's talking about, it's right on down the track. Behind that well, about 50, 60 feet, is a creek, and then that's where we want to make our handicap entrance. Make that a park-like setting for the senior citizens. The trails that are going through here are mountain bike type trails. One of the things with us opening this up, this will connect us to the Pacific Crest Trail, which will be bike and foot trail completed down in Soda Creek July 1st of this year. Doing this in the park-like setting, we are also working with Mount Shasta's Mountain Bike Trail Club that right now is working with Roseburg, bringing down mountain bike trails and foot trails down behind the Mott Road, down behind the elementary school. This will then connect us to the Mount Shasta trails, the McLeod trails, and the Burning Falls competition trails.
What phase is the senior citizen park?
That will be hopefully going in next year when we start putting in the funding entrance.
Is that phase 1? Phase 2?
What we hope to do tonight is get permission to use the property for paintball with disc golf and some challenge bike trails for the kids today. Cal Fire's gone in there and changed that, cleaned it all out, and we need some more, and we can adjust it that way. Well, we're getting the money together to put in the dog park and to put in the ramps that come down to the road, as we get there. That's what we want to do this year as we're building the entrance stuff. Get the grants together.
What would be your input on that?
I would say, my opinion is, okay, you guys are going to roll with it for the kids, get the things going up for the kids. And I've looked at some of it, and I haven't even gone down and looked at the site. Honestly, I've waited till this day. I wanted you to bring it to me here so that I could do something for it, with it, my question is, what phase am I going to have a senior citizen park? And it damn well better be the same phase I got security. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's Hobo Park. I ain't having old people sitting down here.
Right. And I think that's why the fence would be a big thing to actually block that lower entrance all the way around, because if you've ever been down the trail like I have, you can get to a certain point, and once you blocked it off with a fence, there's no climbing over it.
Okay.
Depending on how you want to do it with security cameras.
I know you've been all over it, guy. Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that you are aware of all the safety factors that have to go into this.
And being a hobo camp, I'm definitely aware
and
of it.
When Brenda says that the liability that we can work this, right? This can happen.
Well, the city currently owns it, so the city currently has liability insurance on it.
Is this going to change if we start doing all these activities?
Well, it will definitely be discussed with our insurance company. I'd like to also say that this property, I believe, was given to us by the county because it was a problem area. And I believe that any kind of improvement to that park and to increase the number of people that use it would be a positive thing for that area.
Is there a resolution in here?
Brenda, you did mention to me that you'd be able to get a grant from the railroad for towards the park, right? Maybe we could use that for the fencing, or
you can apply for one.
Yeah.
You can apply for a grant.
Yeah.
We also have a city engineer. His name is Jim Elkins, and he is retiring, and he's primarily donating his time.
I think to be fair, go ahead.
Okay, one of the things for the park and the handicapped access and the entrance, that will be what we will be working on with the grants through the McConnell and the Ford Foundation. When we build a BMX competition course, it requires that it be chain length. Okay, that's where we will be able to get the money for the cameras, for providing safety for everybody that walks there, not just for the fact that we have wildlife issues as well as other issues.
The safety is the first issue of your concern for this whole project, correct?
First thing that I did when I started this was I asked the police departments at every town that I've been to, Oakland, San Francisco, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, Ashland, every one of them. First place I went was the police department. What's the good and the bad with all of this?
Okay, I'm trying to speed this up a little long. I'm trying to get through this agenda here. But I think to be fair, I would like to thank you for your presentation. And I'm going to open up to public comment. I want you guys to stay here. Maybe there's questions that you guys can help address. So we're going to open this up to public comment. If anybody has, John's first. If anybody has any, okay. I thought I was going to get your question, but
no, I understand they're going to have a handicap trail, flat. They're going to ride these bikes on the same thing, right?
No, sir.
So the handicap trail is separate from the bike trail.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's cool.
You'll be isolated away from the bikes and the dogs.
Well, I'm trying to walk. I can only walk from me to you right now. And
and then I gotta sit down. I cannot walk in the yard. But the point is, I've been on city parks where they have the bike trail and the handicap basically flat. And it's all combined into one, and I was in there and run out several times.
Well, that's what we're trying to make sure it's not going to happen here.
Well, that one, I agree with that. The other question I had is on the liability to the city, because I've seen accidents at these parks where kids ride scooters, and they get hurt, and then the city is liable for their injuries. So that's a factor you have to keep. Okay, the other thing is, you guys talk about that. Can I jump in a second? Please?
If you remember.
There's two places in this plan. One of them is where the well is.
Oh, yeah, that's
okay. Where that one of the things in this whole project, the least amount of environmental impact. Okay, the one where we were talking about the well will always be that rounded, down there where we will, in the 5-year plan, we'll have a flatbed trailer going in from the railroad as a stand where the AIS competition comes in this way, yours comes this way, you have your things, everything can kind of center back to that. And also there's a place down at the bottom where you saw with the disc golf work, just the cartoons, all of that is flat. That would be very easy to change.
With the amount of space that we got, there's endless possibilities. We can rearrange this thing any which way possible. As far as safety goes, you're keeping kids off the streets, you give them something to do, you keep them away from the drugs.
That's the main thing.
Okay. Now, real quick, I grew up on that trail. My parents lived across the street. I rode that trail every single day by myself on a motocross bike forever. The only reason why that trail is so developed is because I watched it and maintained it and stuff, so that's what it is.
So it's your fault.
It is my fault, but hopefully it'll be good for the kids, so
all right.
That's what we really want to do. So
last question, if I may. You're talking about a well there, okay? Is this going to be covered with a grate so kids can't fall in?
absolutely.
Okay, I'm done.
Any other questions?
That is an obstacle, we will figure out a way around it.
All right. At this time, I'll close the podium to public comment. Well, raise your hand, okay? Come on up.
5969 Dunsmuir Avenue. I look forward to the Frisbee Disc Golf Course. And then, as you guys are planning, I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but I'll mention it for everybody's benefit. I think that you could have sponsors for the disc golf course baskets. The businesses in town could sponsor a basket. Burger Barn on the top of one, Harley Antiques on the other, that kind of thing. Get a hold of one and you get something from the business. I don't know. Just some ideas I was thinking about. But also, I have disabled grandchildren, so when you guys are planning this, please take all abilities into account so that she can come and enjoy all of this stuff that you guys are planning.
Now, on that note, that's going to be part of the community support. So whatever needs to be changed, we want the community in on it. Okay.
Steve Cutting, I'd like to encourage you guys to use the microphone. It's a private conversation. I have 2 points. One, kids live in Dunsmuir. They're going to ride their bikes down there. It's bad enough driving a car down there. I can't imagine bicycles on that narrow road as it is. Are you planning an alternate trail for the kids on their bicycles and walkers and so forth to get down there and back safely? Also, parking. Okay, so I take my car down there. I'm encroaching on that pretty stuff to do city property stuff. Is that ethical?
When we will be talking to Grand Freddy's, they've agreed that they would lease us out a certain amount of property for parking for the park. That doesn't, and that's been taken care of. As far as for this, one of the things that I've been talking to different resource centers and stage. This is also to interact with kids in the communities. They are willing to set up a way. The parents go into the resource city in their town. They set it up, they get a van that takes them straight to the park. This goes as far as for Lake Shastina and we too, so that the kids can interchange all these parks.
They go straight there, they go straight back, and it's still accessible to the kids in Dunsmuir to go straight there and straight back.
All right. Any other questions
It's
from
been
the
answered.
audience?
I just want to say thank you. You guys are doing an amazing job. Wow. And you're flashing. This is what makes a community. And thank you.
Any more questions from the audience?
And in your comment, we let our kids ride down, fish, all that sort of thing. So you kind of got to balance that. You know?
I'm going to close the podium at this time for public comment and open it up to the councilors. Okay. Mr. Ed, what do you think about this?
First thing is we're going to have to talk to our insurance company because there is additional liability we'll be talking about on something like this. This is not your normal thing tripping on the sidewalk. The other thing is we need, and I want to discuss this now, but we need to have a determination of what kind of organization is going to be established to do this. Because we start talking about grants to go into COA. Something to, I'm sorry, thank you. In order to be available for grants. So there are still a lot of questions. I think it's a wonderful start and a good idea. And we're talking about a piece of property that could use some upgrading, and I think it's a great idea, but there are a lot of things to go through before we get to the point, I think, even of saying, okay, you can have the property.
But I'm getting from you is you're on board with the idea, we just need to perfect it.
Yeah, and what the biggest thing is the organization.
How about you, Tim? What you think? Scott?
Yeah, the foundation, I think we're going to have to look at. I'd like to wait till Councilman-elect Kelby's here to get his input. And also on, that's a shadow government, I think. They're getting more done than we are. And the press.
Did you guys hear that? You guys are getting more done than we are, so. Okay, well, I think that we're all on board with it, but we need to give Miss Brenda some directions to look into the insurance. Maybe when Mr. Kelby's on at the next meeting, maybe we can run this by us all again with the new information that you brought to the table, and we'll discuss it at that time. We can't give you guys a yes or a no now. Please understand we have to do our research too. I commend you guys. It was an excellent presentation, excellent idea. You've got our vote. We just got to make it work, all right?
Mr. Mayor, I should be able to speak with SCORE and have an answer to the council on the 19th.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys back then. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item H, discussion and possible action, set joint meeting with the newly appointed Historic District Commission. Could we just have that meeting on the 19th? Is that possible?
What do we got for the agenda for the 19th?
Just what we've tabled tonight.
One item, and we're cleaning house. So let's do that. What do you guys think about that? We'll set at the next meeting, because right here it's asking us to discuss possible action. We want to set a joint meeting with the newly appointed Historic District Commission. They need to be sworn in, they need to get familiar, they need to meet everybody. What do you think about that? Has that been done before?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Seems to me we did with the Historical District before when we formed this, when the idea was born for the forming of this committee. So let's bring this newly elected committee.
Okay.
Okay.
If you could get everybody together and set up, perhaps, let's just do it as part of the meeting. I think we can do it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item I. Discussion and possible action, resolutions 2014-26, call election and request it to be consolidated with the county election to add referendums. Ms. Brenda.
Mr. Mayor, the citizens of Dunsmuir have circulated 2 referendum petitions. One is concerning an ordinance, one is concerning a resolution. It's not clear if some oppose a referendum being used to overturn an action on a resolution by the council. I have prepared this resolution for both referendums, but if the council only approves one referendum going to a special election, November 4th, 2014, then this resolution will be adequate for one or two.
Okay.
So this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Dunsmuir calling and giving notice of a special election to be held November 4th, 2014, and requesting consolidation of this election with the statewide election. And we do that to save the city money. One of the referendums is for the marijuana cultivation ordinance. It was repealed by the City Council, and the citizens have repealed the repeal. The other one is a resolution for the hiring of City Attorney David Hicks.
Mr. Mayor, I have a conflict of interest, so I'm going to step down and speak from the audience.
All right, at this time I open up.
He accuses himself and has to leave and not discuss. He can't have it both ways.
If she says it's a law, that's what we're going on. You can't be both ways. Can't be both ways.
I have it in writing from the FPPC that if I step down from my official seat, I can speak as a member of the audience if I have an interest in the matter, which I obviously do.
May I see it, please?
I didn't bring it. I'm entitled to speak like every other citizen. My name is David Hicks. I live in Dunsmuir, and I practice law. I have a business license here, and my contract with the city allows me to practice law privately because theoretically this was going to be a part-time job, but it became a full-time job because of all the lack of protocols and attention that's been going on for the last 2 months.
Objection. The audience shouldn't be making comments. That's why we passed the resolution.
Thank you very much. So here's the problem. The law is very clear that the contract with the city official cannot be the subject of a referendum because it's an administrative act, and it's not a legislative act such as the marijuana initiative. I've confirmed this with the County Councilor Brian Morris. I've been in contact with city attorneys all over the state. They all say the same thing. The case law is very clear on it. So it would be an unlawful thing to put on the ballot. So I would ask that the resolution that was drafted by the city manager, I believe, be adopted, but only as to the marijuana initiative. So I ask for a no vote without the amendment. Thank you.
Mario Rubino, I'm the author of this petition. First off, I called County Council and I said, well, have you weighed in on this decision? And he said, no. I said, will you be weighing in on this decision? He said, no. I said, is it in your purview to weigh into this decision? He said, no. I said, Mr. Hicks has called you and talked to you. He said, he has. We have discussed it informally. He has offered none and will offer nothing. Mr. Scott Welch, please. Please. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work on this. I'm telling you, your lawyer is obfuscating and not telling you the truth. Secondly, a resolution is a legislative act. We have, and we've shown all of you where it is, okay? Secondly, it says clearly in the petition, we were not petitioning the hiring of Mr. Hicks. We were petitioning his contract, which was a legislative act. Now, it doesn't matter what you guys do. It's going on the election. But for you guys to show some ration and reason here would be nice. It would mean a lot to the people.
According to Barry Bagley et al., plaintiffs and appellates versus the City of Manhattan Beach et al., defendants and respondents, this is a decision of the California Supreme Court, and this is an old law that's still in effect. It's September 16th, 1976. A general law city, which is what we are, had no power to permit fixing of compensation by administrative order, which is exactly opposite of what Mr. Hicks just said. Respectfully, the language in the statute is clear. It requires compensation be fixed by the city council by ordinance or resolution. The language does not permit fixing of compensation by administrative order or by arbitrator's award. At the end of the California Supreme Court's decision, and Mr. Rubino read this to you before, it says, they conclude that the people of the city should not be denied the right to determine by democratic vote how their city government is to resolve the disputes. There's another thing. This one is Sarah Nome, plaintiff and appellate versus the town of San Anselmo. Court of Appeals of California, First Appellate District, Division 2. This is from July 11, 1989. And in it, it talks about ordinance or resolution is not determinative of its legislative or administrative nature with respect to whether or not it is the subject of initiative or referendum. In other words, a rose is a rose is a rose, and you don't have to call it a Sarah Bernhardt or a Nana rose. It's still a rose. And whether or not the contract was called a resolution or it's called an ordinance, it is a legislative act, and all legislative acts by the council are referendable. Thank you.
Bruce Deutsch, I'd like to bring up a whole other aspect to this, which really hasn't been addressed by anybody in an official manner. And that is that Government Code 40602 says that a contract can be signed by the mayor, but if anybody else is going to sign it, it has to be signed by an ordinance. The whole reason of bringing this up as a referendum was perhaps a jailhouse lawyer's attempt to kind of skirt the issue, but the bottom line, the contract that you have is invalid. It was signed by somebody who was not legally authorized to sign a contract. The only person who could have signed that contract as it was written was the mayor, unless an ordinance was passed to name somebody else. An ordinance requires a process. An ordinance takes time. What we had was a group of people that tried to get a contract signed within a single week so that they could get money into the hands of a person who is not qualified because the contract is illegal. It is not valid. It was not signed by somebody able to sign the contract. So there you stand. Ordinance, that's what you should have done if you wanted to have somebody besides the mayor sign it. You didn't know that because you didn't have an attorney who understands such concepts. That's your fault.
The second phase of the referendum has to do with the city attorney's contract usurping duties that our ordinances directly give the city manager. And you cannot use a contract to do an end run around a city ordinance.
A couple questions. I'm mistaken. Now, if this goes on the ballot, is this just basically asking if we want David Hicks to be our city attorney? And if it is, why would we not want the people to have that choice? I mean, we have spoken and said we want to have that choice to go into a ballot and decide if we want him to be our attorney. should give it to us. You know, I don't know how we could be denied that right. That's what we're here for, democracy. Or is it democracy, or how do we say that?
Chris Rainey, Dunsmuir. Scott, we need to recall that this attorney's contract, to all of us in this on this side of the dais, it appeared out of thin air after the fact. I believe across the top of it, it was personal and confidential until after it was signed. So you excluded all of us from this contract. In addition,
That's why it's supposed
as I understand it, this compensation should be discussed in open session so we know, so we have a chance to weigh in on this. Additionally, while very little work got done on the part of what I consider the legitimate part of our city, 2 councilors and Brenda Baines, I respectfully disagree. Okay? That's just an easy way to say there's a reason why sewer, water, garbage, general fund each have to kick in $5,000 each for a total of $20,000 for something that he did over the course of 2 months. But again, we don't know anything about because we can't see his itemized billing. That is personal and confidential. As is these resolutions that just seem to fall out of the air. We don't see them being discussed. We don't see direction at open meetings being given to Brenda to put a resolution together. And you can't tell me that somebody that's being paid as a city attorney can get up out of his seat, come back to this microphone, and defend his position and say, I'm a private citizen, and defend his position as a paid contractor, and that not be an ethical conflict. We have to remember, nobody at this podium is sworn in. They don't have to tell the truth if they don't want to. And I think that's what's upsetting to a lot of people out there. And this referendum is right on the tails of 76% wanting a change in the council. So you need to put those pieces together and do the right thing tonight. Thank you.
It was nice seeing Fabrini's lawyer, Fabrini, here tonight. I understand he's going to try and sue the city as well. I'm going to tell you, I probably have a suit. I did a Freedom of Information request. I asked for all the invoices from the attorney. I'm still don't have one of them. I also asked for fairly reasonable reporting on those invoices and was denied. And so, yeah, I guess we'll go into litigation. You guys hired a litigator, we'll have to spend a lot of time litigating. You know, these are all things that can be simply solved. I could have, 8 days ago received the original invoice, still haven't got it. Still no excuse for it. I've talked to Mr. Hicks about it, still hasn't sent me it. You know, this is the stuff. You've got a legal counsel that's not doing its job. You've got a city that's in turmoil because of the legal counsel. You've got problems on your staff. I mean, we need leadership. We're not getting it. We removed one. We fully expect to remove the next 2. You guys got to work with staff. You guys have to be able to work with a competent lawyer.
You know the ropes.
I know what rope. I know a hanging rope. You gonna throw your neck into it?
That's a threat, and that's against the protocols. Come on.
I didn't feel like the one.
This is time for public comment. Please refrain from questioning the...
I move that we close public comment.
I just would like to make a comment. I'm not sure if everybody here is clear, but there's a very easy solution to tonight's discord. It's been brought to my attention there might be a letter of resignation that's already been handed in by Mr. Hicks tonight. And by him just simply standing here and offering up his resignation and leaving the building, I think we could move on and do city business.
I keep telling you guys, I'm not an attorney, and I don't know if that would really work or not. Maybe Mr. Hicks could tell us. However, I do know that there's a very easy solution to this. In a referendum petition, we ask our council, all of you, to please rescind the subject of the petition. So the easiest way is to simply rescind Mr. Hicks's contract. Then it doesn't have to go to referendum, and then we have it all taken care of for a year.
For Mr. Rubino's benefit, the request that he made, the response is due by statute next Monday, but it's actually going out in tomorrow's mail, so that's been done. One of the cases you heard read from was a case where the city manager, who is completely in charge of all the employees that were part of the labor union, the city manager was supposed to set all the salaries of the employees. But what the city manager did in that case was she tried to kick the responsibility off onto a binding arbitrator, and the arbitrator's decision was going to be the final decision on what compensation would be for these employees. And the court just simply said, no, the city manager has to make that hard call and can't push it off on someone else. Thank you. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Well, Mr. Hicks has already spoken twice. So during the legal expedition that I went on, the punitive expedition provided me by Mr. Hicks and Mr. Arth, we did actually end up in court at an evidentiary hearing. And Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon, Judge Sarandarian asked Mr. Hicks, pretty much, well, Mr. Hicks, it's 2 o'clock, it's 2:30, we've got a couple hours left, what would you like to do? And Mr. Hicks's response Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon was, Your Honor, I'd like to go home. Mr. Hicks, go home now.
Well, I won't go into too much detail, but I'll say this. I have submitted a letter of resignation to the council. My contract requires me to give 60 days notice, and I've also indicated, pardon?
You mean a legal contract?
Well, you can ask Kirk Andrus about it. I have it from him that he's investigated and found legal. So,
oh, come on! DA!
Who signed it? Was that somebody who signed it?
Hold it down, please.
And then Mr. Deutsch raised the point of who can sign, but if you actually read the next section in the code about who can sign, if the mayor is not present, then the mayor pro tem has the ability to sign.
It's an inconvenient truth Mr. Deutsch doesn't want to acknowledge.
Brenda Bain, city manager.
Where do I start? Okay, this is a Supreme Court decision and an appellate court decision. And there's usually about what? How many judges are sitting on the panel, Mr. Hicks, when they make these decisions? Anyway, they sit there and they not only take a look at the ramifications of, whether or not that city attorney actually messed around with the compensation, etc., but they also take a look at how it's going to impact us as a democratic society. and they make decisions that are far-reaching. Now, I'm no attorney, and I cannot discuss legal points with Mr. Hicks, but I really question when somebody tells me something, and I mean, I have a good reading level. I mean, there's nothing wrong with my ability to read. I've taught children and even adults how to read, but when they say that the ultimate act of applying the standards and of fixing compensation is legislative in character, invoking the discretion of the council, that means his contract is a legislative act. And the referendum petition against a legislative act, whether you call it an ordinance, a resolution, or in this case, a contract. The thing is that it's legislative in nature, and we can put it on a referendum petition, which we did, and it's legal. And Mr. Hicks's contract is suspended. We do not have to pay him any days of leave because his contract is not valid. If the council does not want to repeal it, then they can put it on a referendum for November, and we all will repeal it. Thank you.
Just a quick show of hands here. How many people here like having David Hicks as our city attorney? How many people don't like having David Hicks as our city attorney? Now that's pretty telling to me. If it seems like a conflict to the people, it must be a conflict.
Do you think this is the whole town?
The ones who are here now.
76%!
Excuse me, Madam Council Member. 326 people signed your recall petition. 86 people declined. Now, who do you really represent? Now, I propose that Ed Steele, Scott Welch, Dave Keisler, and you, Tim Padula, represent all 931 registered voters in this town, not just 86. Not even the 326 people who signed your recall petition. You represent all of us. And if we come down here and tell you what we're thinking, you better understand that we have people at home, we have neighbors down the street that we talk to and that we're talking to every day. We don't come down here to hassle you. I've been very respectful for all of you, and I'm asking you, listen to the community. If you have 86 people tell you one thing, well then go out and find at least 86 more people to find out what their opinion is, because all of us are depending on you to do a good job.
You've already spoke on this item and you've been up to this podium on this item. Please don't do it again. And in the interest of time, you guys want to let us put this to the vote? Bring us back to us. Let me close that podium down. We'll kick it around. Go ahead.
My comment is just that as looking at the contract, I'm not an attorney, but it stood out to me that was unusual was that where it said city attorney, it was actually signed by Mr. Hicks. So he signed his own contract as city attorney.
That's because he was appointed 2 days before that.
Was the contract, I just want to, let's just please let me speak. You asked for decorum, I asked for the same. I just want to know, was the contract actually reviewed by an attorney other than Mr. Hicks? That's my only question in the process.
Linda Nasa, Sacramento, 5607 Sacramento Avenue. I just got a curious question here, that when you sign something and it says city manager, and you are not the city manager, doesn't that mean that it's null and void and kind of like a little illegal?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Okay, I'm gonna close the podium at this time, and I'm gonna open this up for discussion amongst the councilors. Ed?
Okay, I think it's time to let the community speak, and I suggest that we approve the resolution to put both of these items on the authorize the referendum.
Scott?
Somebody mentioned resignation. That's an issue for us.
I can't hear
We
you.
can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I can.
Someone mentioned resignation. It is a resignation, and I have to use the restroom after this. But if there's a resignation, I don't think it seems necessary to do this. I do think it's necessary to listen to what you people are saying. It's your town.
Thank you.
But to listen to the way you say it, I think it's egregious. I have to use the restroom.
Tim?
He said it's up to the people.
Do you want to let the referendum go to the vote of the people and put it on the election?
I'll let the marijuana one only. I move to put the marijuana one only.
Okay? He's using the restroom.
I'd like to make some comments.
Go ahead.
Last time I saw someone really celebrating a recall, his name was Arliss Steele. And he came onto this council and he passed every single thing he wanted. And then he celebrated every single thing he passed. And he came in last place in his re-election. So celebrate your recall. But remember, it's not a guarantee that everyone's going to love what you're doing. So I also talked to Brian Morris. He's the county council. And I called him. And he's not our lawyer, so his advice isn't binding. But I also read he had a quote in the newspaper, and the newspaper reporter in Reading asked him his opinion on this referendum. And his quote in the newspaper is, "I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everyone. You cannot have a referendum on a resolution." Now, it's just in his opinion, but I think that if you did put this, if you tried to pass this, a judge in a long black robe would lecture you and tell you that you couldn't, because I have reviewed all the case law. And I think a lot of the case law that you've cited tonight is bogus, that you've tried to corner it into making it fit your argument, but it doesn't. But I have a lesson for you about referendums, because I don't care. Measure S, I got 100 signatures in a weekend. I don't care who you hire. I don't care who you hire. I will get 100 signatures and put their contract on the as a referendum, and then we'll see. And for Mario, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, that's for federal documents. What you need to submit is a public records request.
Leslie, it worked just fine. The DA sending me letters now.
So
look it up, PRA, and
well,
at the end, if you don't get your public records request in 10 days, then you can file a written in court. But only if you ask for a public records request, not a freedom of information.
Okay, I'm entertaining a motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
There are two motions.
There's one. He made a motion for the referendum. He didn't make a motion. So
Scott, you went to the ballot. I made a motion to only send marijuana to the ballot, not the lawyer.
In the absence of any, nobody said anything about how his work is, anything wrong with his work.
20,000
They just don't like us.
Yeah, they don't like us.
20,000 in 2 months.
Actually, I would like to say something. Mr. Hicks has submitted several invoices to City Hall. There is absolutely no detail on the invoices. I have no idea who's hiring him. I have no idea what he's doing. It's all this big secret, and I will not be approving any more of them. because that is not how City Hall works. I need to know who has hired you, who has asked you to do something, how long they spent, and why they asked you to do any work for them. And I will not sign off on any invoice until I get that proper documentation from you, Mr. Hicks, because there has been a lot of money billed to the city, and I have no idea which one of the three you're working for.
Right.
There's been a motion on the floor to send just the marijuana and not the lawyer to that. So you say yes to that, there's a second. So we're going to call the vote. All those in favor of sending just the marijuana and not the lawyer to the referendum, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. So it goes away. Moving on.
His resignation stands.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, aye. Excuse me. Moving on. J, discussion and possible action, resolution 2014-22, termination of contract with city attorney services. Ms. Brenda.
Mr. Mayor, I had received a resolution from Councilmember Padula canceling the contract for the city attorney, and all of a sudden it was rescinded. Actually, Councilmember Padula's had a loss in his family. He gave me the resolution, and then he took the resolution because of the loss in his family. I was asked to keep this resolution on the agenda by you and Councilmember Steele until David Hicks's contract is void.
At this time, I'll open this up to public comment.
I'd like to say two things, and I think this is something that a lot of people feel. I would like to have a city attorney that would never, ever, ever think of putting this city in the situation he has put us through in the last 2 months.
Amen.
I would like to have a city attorney that believes that ethics is the basis of what he's doing, not some way to get money because he didn't have room for retirement in his previous endeavors. Mr. Hicks is the kind of attorney I would like to have a city attorney keep us from and keep us safe from.
David Hicks, do you remember our conversation in the park that day when you told me that you're going to try to get paid by the city? Do you remember that? $250,000, and I said, how can you hurt our town like that? And then I walked away from you. And then you came walking up to me about 10 minutes later and you said, Brian Wilson, what would you do if Chris Rainey tried to have you fired? And I said, come up to me and not talk to me like a jealous girlfriend or an attorney. And you came back to me about a minute later and said, Brian, can we start this over again? And I told you at that moment that I didn't like you because you were trying to hurt my town. And I told you since then I still feel the same way about you. And I think many people feel that same way. So the second you quit hurting our town, David Hicks, we can be friends again, but you are hurting our town right now. Thank you.
A couple of things. First of all, the contract that was signed to hire me by law is confidential, but the council and I thought it best to publish it, so I took it to Brenda Baines the next day and gave it to her and told her it was subject to public having copies of it. The very next day after we had the contract signed. I don't remember the exact date. Now,
let him speak.
Regarding the detail of the legal bills, there are about 5 legal reasons why the communication between a lawyer and his clients, my client being the city, as embodied by the 5 members of the City Council, includes things like attorney-client privileged communication, attorney work product, attorney's thought processes, and these are normally shared with clients in great detail. And I have let it be known to the council that they at any time can release my detailed invoices. All they have to do is vote to do it. I can't do it legally because as the attorney I don't hold the privilege. It's held by the council itself. So, so there isn't any attempt by me to keep any information from the public on the detail. And I actually, because of the nature of the law, that detail cannot be waived by me, I bring Brenda 2 invoices. One, which is the summary page, and then about 12 pages of detail talking about minute to minute what we had to do. For example, you probably don't know that I was in court today for the city by telephone. You wouldn't know that, and I won't go into any details of that because that's not public at present.
But you were instructed not to.
Yes, but that,
anyway.
I did.
Checkmate. Just remember that.
I'm very aware of that, but that's because the legal basis for this was not sound. And the contract specifically says that the city attorney is in charge of all legal affairs for the city. So that's what
you're working for David Fabrini now, too?
Oh, no.
Oh, just checking.
Of course I do. Of course I do. So the council can release the detail at any time they want on a vote of 3 members of the council. And I have nothing to say about it. In fact, I contacted the FPPC about it and said, what's the deal here? And they said, you have no financial interest in whether it's released or not. So it's really up to the council, and if they want you to have it, you're welcome to it. Thank you.
Mr. Hicks, I'm going to say something though. If I am being sued by Fabrini, you are not my representation. As long as
you told me that yesterday, and when I appeared in court today, I indicated...
I tell you.
No.
You don't represent me and you still go to court? Don't send me a bill, buddy.
Well,
you did not represent me today.
That's right, I did not. I represented the city, which was the first named defendant. You were the second or third named defendant. I didn't send you a bill.
Settle down, Mr. Mayor.
No.
You do not represent the entire council. You only represent your own personal view.
Hire a city attorney who goes around doing things he's told not to do.
You didn't have the floor.
Calm down, calm down. Everybody calm down. Are you done talking?
No, Scott had a question for me. What, later? Now?
Well, I might.
Okay, I'm done.
Some of these people being silly in the lawyer.
Where are you going?
Where the fuck are you going? You just gonna bail out?
It's okay.
He's a real leader, a real man.
I have a question.
Okay, next.
Blaze Barnes again. Tim, I'd like to know from you why you wanted to fire David Hicks, in your own words.
I didn't want to fire him. I wanted to redo the contract.
To make it legal?
No. Why then? Hey, I tell you what. You walked out, Scotty walked out, I slammed son of a bitch. And you guys can say nothing about it because I am the council. If you guys are missing, I am the council.
Oh.
Brenda, do you have
Really?
Tim's letter that you can read to the public? Or does anybody have a copy of that letter? Wanting to fire
David
David
go
Hicks?
there, it's going to open up a can of worms, and I guarantee you. So think about what you're going to do.
I have it in my office. If anybody would like to see it, they can come by.
Chris Rainey, again, I'd just like to point out to the crowd that's left that Mr. Hicks is working now. He's getting paid for this. This is what he does. He argues. And you guys are paying the tabs. What is curious is that he keeps referring to Nick Mitchell being found guilty by the FPPC. And Mr. Hicks has done exactly the same thing this evening that Mr. Mitchell did. He recused himself once with an explanation, and then he came to the podium and didn't recuse himself, didn't explain. You only explained yourself once, sir, and you've been up here twice. Gotcha.
Why we ask you?
I hope this to be my last time up here, but again, Mr. Hicks, I implore you, maybe Brenda has the copy of the letter of resignation. We, as citizens of this community, do not want you as our city attorney. We have ousted one of our members. I have to remind Mr. Padula that we do represent a little bit more than 4% of the community here tonight. But back to Mr. Hicks, do you have your letter of resignation that you could read for all of us tonight? Because a lot of us are very curious to hear it.
No, I don't.
Does Brenda have it?
Again, I have it in my office, and I'd be happy to.
Okay. I just think
let
that
everybody see it.
we could put a lot of end to this misery tonight if you would just be the man that you need to be and do what's right for this town and resign.
When we were on council, we had a lawyer, and I think every decision that we asked from him, every opinion we asked from him was public. It wasn't so much a matter of policy, it's just a really good idea to let the people know what your lawyer is saying and what his opinions are. It's kind of like trying not to keep information they need to have to make a decision from them. But what I'd like to see in a lawyer is one that doesn't call meetings, one that doesn't ask Mr. Fabrini if he's got a certain problem that he would like to address the council. I'd like to see a lawyer that doesn't take the place of the general manager and try and organize a meeting. And I would like to see a lawyer that doesn't tell council where they need to be in a meeting and what they should be doing. I'd like to see a lawyer that isn't proactive as far as council meetings and councilors, but is more interested in giving an opinion when it's time for him to give an opinion. I don't understand a lawyer that would try to tell city employees, redress them for letting legal information out. I don't understand that. I don't like a lawyer in a small town of 1,500 people, a small town, not be able to explain billing. We don't have the money for a $300,000 lawyer. We don't have the money for a $150,000 lawyer. We need to know that every dollar is spent in this city council the most absolute, efficient, and reasonable way. And just because a councilor has a whole list of questions and asks a city attorney, that shouldn't be enough reason. It needs to be a reason enough to ask a city attorney that we can afford it in our budget. And my God, Scott, are you here or you're not?
Robert Osborne, 4405 Dunsmuir. It was alluded to that there's some kind of litigation concerning the city and the council. Why don't we know about this?
It just happened today.
Report?
It just happened today.
Yeah, so what?
I am being sued. The mayor is being sued. The city is being sued by Mr. Fabrini for violating his civil rights for closing down meetings. And it is asking for financial, yes.
Okay, I was just wondering because we hadn't heard anything about that until now. Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. Carolyn Rivard, 4421 Gleaves Avenue. Mr. Welch, I know how frustrated, how disappointed, and confused you are because I'm the same way. Thank you for coming back.
I have one quick question. I'm Carol Powers of Brenda. When Mr. Kennedy, when he was the attorney for the city, Did he bill with a detailed invoice?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, he would put the date, actually, his billing secretary would put the date, the person he spoke to, the matter it was about, the length of time that they worked on that item, and then they would extend the price out. They would put multiple items together if it was in one day, but it was always clear if it was Councilmember Padula or the mayor or the city manager or Julie Iskra of who he was working with. And I cannot believe that I have to take it to a city council and get a 3-person vote to get detail on invoices. And although there is an attorney-client privilege, everything the city spends money on is public information.
Can you explain to us why you are not doing the same thing that it's always been done in Dunsmuir? I mean, I would like to say something though to you first of all. You, by not doing those things, that simple things that we're asking you to do you really think that you're winning over anybody? I mean, you appear to be hiding something. Plain and simple. Why won't you work with us and answer some of these questions and do one thing that we asked you to do that maybe would put some people's, give some people some peace of mind? I just really am curious about that.
You have a microphone.
I have a conflict of interest because of a personal financial interest. So I'm coming over here to recuse myself. No. Well, I could do it either place. Well,
answer your question as
yeah, I came over here to answer your question as a human being.
Why do you have to
Hey,
be so difficult?
You had your time at the oak, let him talk.
First of all, I thought it was clear, but the council has the power and authority without checking with me to give you all these bills. It's not up to me. I don't hold the privilege. If you confide in a lawyer about something secret, that lawyer has to keep that to himself forever and even go to jail if the court orders him to disclose something. And one of the interesting things is even a judge cannot look at the records, this detailed confidential stuff, unless the council says, let's make it public. I have no objection to the council making it public. And about the other part of the detail, I have actually asked of the council to let me change the billing style, give me some guidance, and I can leave out stuff that's sensitive so that you can see all the detail, but nobody
Was that in a meeting? Because I don't remember it. And I would like to ask you something. Mr. Hicks, I would like to ask you something.
Meeting with you and Mr. Steele in your office.
Okay, Mr. Kenny would provide all the detail on his invoices without council action. Without the council, 3 people, wait a minute, please. Without 3 people telling him to do it, he did it. And nobody rescinded anything, nothing changed, and all of a sudden you're playing under different rules, and the city council never made an action that said you are to hide all of our names on the bills and never let anybody know who you're working with.
No, that's not what happened really. But what actually happened is...
But I can show them to you.
What actually happened is I handed to you 2 bills. One that could be published because it didn't have any attorney-client communication in it. And the other one had all the detail in it, and you took it in your hand and put it down on your desk. I assume you saw it. But tonight it sounded like you never looked at it.
Actually, you did give me one with some detail, and then the next one was completely secretive. There's not one name on it, and I believe it was a $5,000 bill, close to.
Well, if you...
He's a high caliber lawyer.
All right.
Well,
we're going to take a 10-minute break now.
Per se and see what it is.